What we're going to talk about today is the McKenzie Friend Masterclass. I am going to talk about my background, my work as a McKenzie Friend. I've done it for 20 years. So I've had all sorts of experience. Why I'm running this course, there is a reason why I have this course. And the skills that you need, skills in quotes, because they're not really skills. How the masterclass works. There is a method to this madness that I've just brought you all into. I'm going to talk about the material that I cover on the masterclass, the additional benefits that come with the masterclass, and then we will go to questions and answers. So making a start on this, my background, I left school at 16, I joined the army and I worked in building design, quite happily working in architecture, which I quite enjoyed. I was married with 2 children at the millennium year 2000, and things were going wrong. In fact, they've been going wrong for 20 years because I've been married for 20 years by that point. And I realized I was in an abusive marriage. So I left. I had 2 children, as I say, and I was offered 1 hour a month to see the children. I didn't think that was acceptable. So I made an application to court. And that's where the whole process started. Having been through a court hearing, I was asked by somebody else to help them as a McKenzie Friend. I didn't know what a McKenzie Friend was, but I went along to the hearing. I was admitted, no idea what I was doing at all, but I became quite interested in it. I was then asked to help other people, and it grew and grew and grew from there. And in 2006 until 2008, I did a law degree, which I passed. And I then did the bar vocational course, and I was then called to the bar as a barrister in 2010. Now, since then, I began training courses for McKenzie Friends in 2013. So that's 9 years that I've been doing this. You wouldn't have believed it by the mess up that I've made with this one this evening. But I began in 2013. I now lecture, I train people, I'm a consultant, and I advise hundreds of people on how to deal with their cases. I've had many years' experience at all levels of court, from the magistrates at the bottom through to the Court of Appeal. I've won appeals. I have lost appeals as well. An appeal will only be successful on the right case, but I have won, and I have cases that I'm named in. And I've been highly praised by judges and clients. From my perspective, I'm just an ordinary guy who has got into this purely by accident and made a success of it. So working as a McKenzie Friend, as I said, my first hearing was in 2002. That was 20 years ago, obviously. And I only did children hearings at the beginning. I was frightened of financial hearings. I didn't want to do them at all. And I only did children hearings. They, to me, were straightforward and understandable, and everything was fine. That was okay. I was comfortable. And I was a part-time McKenzie Friend for quite a few years, probably 4 or 5 years. It was only when I qualified as a barrister that I thought, I've got to do this seriously now. I either go back to architecture, which I enjoyed, or I've spent so much money to become a barrister that I should do something properly. And I then upped my game and I became more professional in the way that I worked. As I say, I did the law degree and I was called to the bar. And then I became a full-time McKenzie Friend. Typically, I did 10 to 15 hearings a month. And on top of that, I would help people with statements, given advice, all sorts of things. I've given so much free advice to people over the years, dealt with so much paperwork that you learn as you go along, and you learn all sorts of things. But that was what I was doing. And everybody says to me, what can you earn as a McKenzie Friend? Now, you can charge whatever you want to charge. I'm not interested in that at all. But I was charging £300 a hearing. And if you think on 10 to 15 hearings a month plus other work, that's a very good income for a job that you didn't even know existed. And most people don't know it exists until they get involved in a family law case. Incidentally, I only deal with family law. I can do all sorts of other things. I've been trained in criminal law and personal injury. I don't touch them at all. Family law is the thing that I'm interested in. 2018, retired. I've got retired in quotes because I didn't really retire, and I've moved to France, which is where I live now. And that lasted about 2 months. I was inundated with inquiries, so I continued, and I continued with the training, and I continued supporting clients. COVID then struck, and I then went online, and I'd avoided going online. I'd rather do face-to-face training. But then having gone online, I found it was really easy to do short lectures, do longer courses, whatever you want to do. It's very easy when you're doing it online. So I've now got a range of courses and lectures all on a training academy, which the name is going to come up at the end because that is where the masterclass is. Now, my concerns as a McKenzie Friend, I have done it for 20 years, as you know. There is no regulation. There's no regulatory body. There are very few rules that you need to abide by. Obviously, I will teach you those rules, but I have other concerns about the whole thing. The abilities of McKenzie Friends. There are some awful McKenzie Friends out there. There are some fantastic McKenzie Friends. But until you've used one, you don't know whether they're good or bad. And your case, I always say that your case is either going to win or lose, depending on the situation, or not necessarily win or lose, but it's going to go in a certain direction depending on the situation that you're in. So I've trained McKenzie Friends. You could say, well, you've trained so many McKenzie Friends over the years, you must know their ability. Unless they've actually started to promote themselves and they've attended court and I've met them and maybe been in a case opposing them, I don't actually know what level they're at. They could have sat through the training and just fallen asleep. They could have put the video on, get to the end and say, right, I've done that. Can I have a certificate now? So I don't really know what their capabilities are. So what I'm doing now with the masterclass, and this was my first thought, with the germ of an idea came into this. If I did an assessment or a short assignment, if I've taught you something and then you do an assessment on it, I know whether you've understood what I was teaching you. So if I teach you about how to do a position statement and you can write a decent position statement, I know that you've got it. If you haven't got it, then I'll teach you again. I'll go over it with you until you've got it right. So I then thought, if I did assessments, then I would know if somebody else wanted a position statement and I don't want to do it, I could give it to them because I know that they can do it. So then another germ of an idea comes along. The other thing with McKenzie Friends, there are some with a very poor attitude and they spoil it for everybody else. And they certainly spoil it for their client, but you don't know who they are. There's a problem. There's also rip-off McKenzie Friends. There are people who would charge a lot of money and not provide a great deal for it. I charge a very minimal fee, but then I'm semi-retired and I'm not looking to make an income from it. But there are people who will just charge enormous sums of money. There are people I have trained who charge 4 times as much as I do, which I find quite shocking. But I know, in fact, I read just the other week, somebody paid £900 for some advice. I give free advice. So there are people who are there just to make money, and I really don't think that's good. And then there's certainly another course provider. He says all judges are clowns. What an idiot that is. Judges are very intelligent people. You might not like the decisions that they come up with, but they are very intelligent people. You try doing a law degree and then say that they're not intelligent. You cannot take an approach that judges are idiots, judges are clowns. You can't teach other people that judges are clowns, and you can't take on clients with that approach. The judge is the one person who is going to affect the rest of your life and your relationship with your children. If you think he's a clown, how are you going to have that respect and how are you going to get somewhere? I think they are very intelligent, and I take the opposite view to that. They are the one person who's going to save you. So just consider that. And I'd like to set a standard, not that I'm saying I'm the best McKenzie Friend there is, because I'm not the best that there is, I'm sure. I just want people to know that if you used a McKenzie Friend that Simon-Walland has trained, that they are going to be capable of doing the job that you want them to do. And that is the next germ of the idea. This is where all of these ideas have come together to form this masterclass. I'm not looking for the courts or anybody else to say, well, if you've not been trained by Simon-Walland, then you're not a McKenzie Friend, because that isn't what I'm doing. I'm looking to be able to say, if you've done the training, you've been assessed, I know that you can do this. And I'm confident you can put my name to what you're doing, and I know that you are not going to let me down. And the assessment thing, and all of this is to ensure that you've understood what I'm teaching you. That's also going to give me and you a source of reliable McKenzie friends. As I've said, doing the position statement, if you can do the assessment on it, I know you've got it, and I can then give you work. I don't particularly want to deal with clients. I would rather pass those on to the people that have done my course. So that helps me to do this. If someone said to me today, do you know a McKenzie Friend if you can't help me? I know 3 or 4, which is shocking really after 20 years, 3 or 4 that I could trust to do a decent job for somebody. And that's what I'm looking for. And then maybe I can retire properly. I'm not going to retire. I don't think I'll ever retire because I enjoy working and I enjoy what I do. But yeah, I want to do less work and pass that work on and help people to get through this nightmare of a family court system. So what do you need to be a McKenzie Friend? Do you need a law degree? Absolutely not. It's not going to come into it at all. You don't need that level of education at all. It's not going to harm you, but you don't need it. Do you need any legal knowledge? No, you don't. I will teach you everything that you need to know to be able to be a McKenzie Friend. Common sense, yes. I feel that the majority of family law revolves around common sense. If you've got no common sense, you're going to struggle. But everything does come down to common sense. You look at something, if it doesn't seem right, it probably isn't right. And I use that as a gauge in not everything I do, but a lot that I do in law. Having an inquiry in mind, you very often will have a situation where the other side may say, well, we can't do this because of this. And then you can say, well, why not? How does that not fit into this? How does that stop you from whatever it is that you're trying to achieve? And just looking at things and questioning things is a very good ability that would help you as a McKenzie Friend. I don't take anything at face value anymore. I wonder if it's because of my bar course. I think it annoys the hell out of my friends because I query everything that they ever say. I think I annoy a lot of people over it, but tough, that's who I am. A sense of perspective. You do need to look at a whole situation and think, does this situation seem right? I very often look into the innards of somebody's relationship or previous relationship. And I look at that and think, how on earth did you live like that? And then I can look back at my own and think, how on earth did I put up with that for 20 years? People do things, but you need a sense of perspective over the whole situation. Do things look right? Or does it look right? Does it not look right? It all helps. It's this common sense, inquiring mind, having a sense of perspective. Patience and tolerance. I used to have a lot of patience and tolerance. I lost it somewhere over the years. And in 2018, that's why I stopped working, because I had lost it. I then had a break and then started to work again. And I think I've got most of it back. I do try and be patient, but you deal with people who will very often infuriate you with what they say and what they do. You have to be patient with them. It's their life. It's, they are going through one of the worst times probably of their life. They're emotional, they're vulnerable, and you need to be patient and tolerant with them. The ability to see the bigger picture, that's like the perspective. You look at the whole situation. Your client cannot see the whole situation. All they can see is the anger, the frustration, and the injustice of where they are, and they don't know what to do. You can see the whole thing. You shouldn't be emotionally involved in this, and therefore you can help them. A desire to help others, that for me is the biggest part of this. I remember in 2000, 2001, I was in a mess. I contemplated suicide at the time. I did not know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to go to for help. And I really struggled. And people will ring me and say, well, Simon, I'm in a bit of a mess. Could you help me with it? And it puts me back to where I was. And I want to help them. I don't want them to suffer the things that I suffered. And I see helping people as the biggest part of this that you really do need. So the masterclass, I have divided this course up into 15 separate modules. In each module, you have exactly the same process here. So you will, once you've booked onto the course, you download the course manual. So that's your first thing. Download, it's a PDF file. You should print it out if you can. If you can't print it out, then you're going to need some extra paper to make notes. It will give you an explanation about the module. Each of these modules is an important element of being a McKenzie friend. And I would say by the end of it, you hopefully will know, I can't say you'd know as much as me because a lot of it comes from experience, but you would know a lot. You would be a good McKenzie friend if you've passed all 15 of these modules. In the module, you have a number of activities. And then I've got watch the video. So what actually happens is that the module will have maybe 7 or 8 separate short videos. So the first video, I might talk about the qualities of a McKenzie friend, as an example. You then have the activities to actually think about, what have I said? List them in order of importance. What does Simon mean by this? True or false? How does this work? None of it is difficult, but it just gets your mind thinking. And it means that at the end of the module, you haven't just sat there, put the video on play and walked away and made a cup of tea. You've listened to it, you've watched it, you've thought about it. And that's what I need you to do, is to just think about what you're learning and how that applies to what you can do to help people. And then there is an assessment. So at the end of the module, there's an assessment to do. It isn't going to be difficult, but it will test the skills that I've just taught you in that module. Now you can go back and watch the videos again. You can do the assessment. You cannot fail the assessment. I'm hoping you can't fail the assessment. If you don't get it right, I will tell you where you've gone wrong and give you another assessment to do. Because I remember when I did my law degree, there were all sorts of areas of law that I struggled with. Some of them I didn't get. One of them, property law, was a nightmare for me. Never, ever understood it, but I managed to pass that exam in the end. I don't know how, but I don't want it to be that difficult for you. If you have a problem and you don't understand something, you can ask me and I'll tell you how to deal with it. So the assessment is there, but it isn't a test of your ability to deal with that module. It's a test of your understanding of that module. And you will make mistakes. You will, some things aren't going to be as good as maybe other people do. That's not what it's about. As long as you're at a level that you can help people, you then move on to the next level or the next module. Also in the course manual, we have additional information of interest. So when we talk about McKenzie Friends, a few years ago, there was a big furore about McKenzie Friends and how terrible they are. We've got links there so you can read about that and what the issues are and why people are unhappy. Every time something comes up that is of interest, I will put it into whichever module that it's relevant to, so that you have that additional information. It isn't a case of just click your way through the course, that's it, you're done. You're learning. And the more you learn, the better a McKenzie friend you will be. So you complete that module, you do the assessment, and then you can progress to the next level. So the course, as I say, it has 15 modules. I will just briefly go through these. You will be sent this evening a prospectus with a lot more detail about each of these that you can read. So first of all, working as a McKenzie friend, what do you need dealing with your client, your initial consultation with the client, the do's and don'ts of working with people, how to handle people, all of that is in the first module. The second module is position statements. They are, in my mind, one of the most critical things that you're going to have to deal with. And I have the module, an assessment there, writing a position statement. If you haven't got it right, I'm going to send you another one and explain where you've gone wrong, have another go at it. We'll keep on doing it if necessary, hopefully not too many times, until you've understood it and you've got it right. Third module, court applications. There are hundreds, there are a lot of different court applications. You need to understand when your client has a situation that they need to deal with, which application is right for them. What forms do they need to fill in? Where do they send the forms? How do they deal with it? All of that is covered under court applications. And then I focus on children applications, and all of these, there's a scenario. And the scenario is you helping somebody, maybe they can't see their children, this has happened, that's happened, haven't got the passports, they're not on the birth certificate, all the things that come up, you fill in an application form. Maybe that is the assessment in that module. And then I can check that you've understood it and you know how to fill in the application. Then you move on. Financial applications. I avoided it, as I said earlier, for years. And then I got roped into it and I couldn't get out of it. And I helped somebody in a financial hearing. And I just thought, what was I worrying about? It isn't that difficult. And I really had avoided it. It isn't difficult. And I think I just needed to see how it worked and how the bits all fit together. That's the training that you're going to get. So there's nothing to be worried about with financial applications. In many ways, they're easier than a children application because they haven't got the emotion involved. Domestic abuse is rife in family law, all sorts of reasons why, but I will talk about domestic abuse, how it's misused, how it is there for a purpose. There are violent people in the world. I did a statement for a young girl today. Her arms were covered in bruises and she had a video where her ex was talking to her and grabbed her phone and then she was screaming with whatever it was he was doing to her. It happens and some people need protecting, but there are an enormous number of false allegations made. How do you deal with them? How are you going to get through the court system with false allegations against you? So you've got to look at it from both sides. It does happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen. CAFCAS, social services and Section 7 reports. There are other bits included in this module, drug testing, alcohol testing, anything that is outside the court, police disclosure, all of those things that will come into a court hearing. We'll talk about those, look at those and how they come into this scenario that you're working on. Cross-examining evidence is, I think, one of the most interesting parts of all of this, but it is a skill. And it was a huge part of my bar course because that's what barristers do all the time. I know how to do it and I know how to do it properly. And I will teach you how to do it properly. It isn't difficult and it can be quite exciting, which seems a bit strange for an element of law. But cross-examination and evidence, it's critical in most cases, particularly the evidence. People don't understand evidence. They don't understand how to do cross-examination. But at the end of Module 8, you will be able to crack it. Statements and bundles. Everybody needs a statement for final hearing. Bundles are a bit of an ancillary thing, but it's there. You need to know how they go together, what they are, how they work, because the other side might produce the bundle, but you're going to need to check it. You might need to question it. Statements, they have your story in it. And then you've got the other side story. How do those stories come together? And you would know by that point how to cross-examine because you use the statements to do that. Then we look at final hearings in a children case. I've got second hearing in a financial case because for most people, the second hearing is your final hearing. You can go to a third hearing. Not many people do. I will cover both of those. So really, that should have said second and third hearing for a financial case. Fact-finding hearings. As I said, the domestic abuse is rife. The fact-finding hearing is where you sort out, did he, didn't he, did she, didn't she? And you need to know how to deal with those. They are now, it has got worse and worse over the years, but they are just everywhere. Everyone is dealing with false allegations nowadays. Enforcing applications, there's no point having a court order if the other side don't follow it. What do? You need to enforce it. I talk about enforcing, and you'll have a scenario where an order hasn't been complied with. How are we going to enforce it? The statement that goes with it. What can you do? What can't you do? What are the court looking for? All of that information is in that section. Divorce. Divorce is actually very easy. It is easier to get a divorce than to apply for a passport. Honestly, it is. But you need to understand how that fits in to the legal process. It is so easy to do, and you can make very good money on doing divorces, just as a sideline. And I would show you how to do those. There's a new style of divorce that's just come out. That's the course that I'll be, or that's the new method that I'll be teaching you. And if you think that the majority of your clients will have had to get a divorce unless they weren't married, so it is important, even if you don't get involved in it, but you need to understand it. And then the last module is appeals. If a case goes wrong for you or goes wrong for your client, they may want to do an appeal. I did an appeal about 3 or 4 months ago for a grandmother prevented from seeing her grandchildren. We lodged an appeal. She won the appeal. She's now seeing her grandchildren. Perfect. That's what you will be able to do once you've done these 15 modules. Now, on top of that, because this germ of an idea has been growing and growing for quite a long time now, and I'm thinking, what else could you benefit from? So here we go, unlimited support on the course content. So anything I teach you, I will give you unlimited support on it. Anything you don't know, you can ask me and I will answer your question. I might have a big queue of people asking questions, hopefully not, because the course materials should help you. But if you're struggling, I don't want you to struggle. You can ask me, I will tell you what to do. I said unlimited support with your own clients. When you get a client and you're not sure what to do, certainly with your first client, you may think, oh, I'm really not sure. How do I deal with this? I'll give Simon a call. He'll tell me what to do. That is what I would do. I'm not going to run your case for you. I'm not going to spend hours explaining every little bit that you need to do, but I will put you in the right direction. And I will make sure that you are helping your clients the best that you can, and you're not leading them up a garden path. Access to all of my learning resources. So I have lots of courses, lots of lectures. I am going to keep adding to those. You will have access to all of them. Clients where possible. I don't want to work for clients anymore. I want to pass that on to people that I know can do the work. So when you are at a level, I will be passing work, hopefully, because it all depends on what I'm asked to do. I can't magic work up, but I will pass work on to you for you to do. And then you've got a client out of it. I don't want to deal with clients. I want to concentrate on the training and other things that I do in law rather than deal with the public. I've got here, shadow me on cases. This is something that I'm asked ever such a lot, and I had to think about this and thought, well, how is this going to work? Because it's all confidential. And I then realized that if I have a case and I change the names of the case, maybe change a couple of little bits of it that are inconsequential, and then I can say to you, right, this is the case that I've got on the go at the moment. You do what you think is right. I'll do what I think is right because I'm helping them. and we can compare the two. So you'll then learn, well, why, oh, Simon, why did you do that? Why didn't you do this? Because of this, that, or the other. And then you're going to learn from it. This is all about learning and getting the information out of me into your heads so that you can be the best McKenzie friend that you can be. Every 3 months, I'm going to do a mock hearing. Now that, there's nothing to be worried about. That is where I will give you some papers to deal with a situation. And then we'll go online and you can, even if it is just a position statement, you will send me the position statement and then I can talk to you online as if this is a hearing about what's good or bad about your position statement, why I would have done it differently, and maybe have a discussion about it. But you can learn from your own position statement that you've done, as well as everybody else's. So every 3 months, we're going to do a mock hearing through the year. And it's going to get harder and harder because you're learning more advanced material as we go along. There's going to be a group forum and you can go on there. You can ask any questions you like. You can talk to each other about what you're doing. Have you read this? Could you understand that? I will be on there as well, and I will be answering questions to help you with this training. And I'm also going to do group Q&A sessions. So if we're learning a module, before we move on to the next module, I will put up a meeting exactly like this. And I will say to you, if you've got any questions at all, join me and I'll answer those questions. You will learn from other people's questions as well as your own questions. And I would say that there is no stupid question. You ask anything you like. I used to love working with a guy who asked loads of stupid questions that everybody wanted to ask, but everybody thought, I can't ask that because it's stupid. He was quite happy doing it, and we all learned from that. So a group Q&A session, I'm hoping that I can do one on every module, just to make sure that you've really got it, and then we can move on to the next one. This course is a CPD course. I've applied for the assessment that's been dealt with. This course is going to be passed. I've been assured it will pass, and you will then get CPD hours and all the benefits that will come from a CPD course. This isn't a Mickey Mouse course. This isn't calling judges clowns. This is a proper professional course to teach you to be a McKenzie friend. Yeah. Now, before I go to questions, this link here, which is going to be in the email that you receive, Simon-Walland-Family-Law teachable.com, that is where the course is.